Hello magical ones, welcome to the Fairy Stitch vlog. I'm Faerie, and today we are doing a fairy craft magic video, which I hope that you will find very informative, and hopefully it'll give you some information about fairy craft that maybe you're not aware of, that perhaps you've been interested in and didn't know who to talk to about that. Because I am a practicing fairy witch, and I work with fairies all the time. I'm a certified fairyologist, and I'm an artist. I'm a knitter, a crafter, and I make craft items like herb jars and herb spell bottles, and we do witch balls and the witch bells, and I make fairy dolls and witch dolls and that kind of thing. And so I work with this stuff all the time in different ways. So I hope that my experience will help you to understand more about the fairy craft magic practice. So for those of you who are brand new to the channel, this is some of the things that I talk about regularly, but I also do gardening and baking, and there's crafting, there's knitting, there's artwork, there's books, there's poetry. You never know what you're going to get or when you're going to get it, so I would highly recommend you subscribing to the channel if you haven't already, and if you have, thank you so much, and welcome back, and I hope that you'll like this. And please like the video if you would. That would be great. So I am very much on Facebook, and I have a Ko-fi.com page, which the link is below the channel name in blue writing, as well as our PayPal. If you would like to donate to us or help us, that would be fabulous. This is the only way that I can make money besides doing my yard sales and trying to sell my items that I create. So including the artwork and classes, things like that. But anyway, so today I'm going to talk about, this is going to be a Fairy Craft Magic Spellwork video exclusive. And I just wanted to cover some basics, some fundamentals. And I've talked about it before, but this is, I just thought I would do another updated for beginners or for some people who are new to it, never heard of it. So let's sprinkle a little fairy dust and see what I can conjure up. So fairycraft is a form of magic that was kind of created or based on Celtic and Irish traditions and magic folktale and folklore. So we're very much into working with the fairies, with the fae. It's very important to have a good association with them. It's very important to have a communication. It's also important to work with nature, not fight against it, but work with it. Which means that you get into the rhythm of, weather and the moon cycles. Some prefer to work with the sun magic. Some prefer to work with herbs and gardening. Some prefer to focus on kitchen witchery. Some would like to work more with the Wicca ideas, which are in here. We do combine it. And some are more hardcore, want to go with the witchcraft, which is also in this, and we kind of take away from. The idea is that you've got to remember that the fundamentals of fairycraft magic is it's the ingredients that you're going to use to bake the cake, so to speak. But once you get it baked, then it's up to you if you want to add flavoring, if you want to add coloring, if you want to add, what kind of toppings, if you want to make an icing, what do you do? Do you want it colored? Do you want candles? Also, it's all about giving you the basics, getting you on the starting level, and then you personalize it. You jostle it around till it makes sense to you. Till, okay, I like a little of this, I want a little of that, I want to put this with this, and I want to add that. Or, I just like this. This is all I'm going to work with. That's all I want. Okay, personalize it. Make it yours. Get the basics down so that you can tweak it, play with it, add to it. And let's say you focus on kitchen witchery for a while. Okay, great, do it. And then let's say after that you're like, you know what, I really do want to start growing herbs. That way I can put them into the kitchen witchery. So I'm going to learn about herbs and start working on the garden. Okay, great. So there you go. You're taking some from that and you're adding to what you've already got. Perhaps you like crystals. You want to work with crystals, and you're just fascinated with them. You want to work with their properties, which one does what do they represent, how do you use them, wear them, what spells work for you. That is fine. It is totally fine. You can totally devote your time and energy to learning about crystals and the energies and all of that. Do it. Then once you get into that, maybe you're like, you know what, this would be really good to put with a few of the herbs and put with a little bit with a candle. Okay, so then you're branching out. So that's fine. It's all about making it personal. It's all about getting the fundamentals down so you know what works, what feels to you, what appeals to you. Now, if you are brand new to this and you're like, you know what, okay, give me the list. Okay, garden witchery, solar magic, moon magic, herb magic, flower magic, candle magic, fiber art magic. Fiber arts being knitting, sewing, crocheting, fabrics, okay. Let's see, and then another one could be animal magic, god and goddess magic, ancestral magic. There's a lot that you can totally get into, and you might think, oh my gosh. It does sound overwhelming, that long list, but it gives you lots of options. Okay, so don't get overwhelmed. There's options. Now, first tip is, and I'm sure you've heard this guy before because there's a lot of beginner videos on just magic and witchcraft and all that stuff on YouTube. And yes, this is another one, but this is fairycraft. And I don't see too many on fairycraft. And I've been practicing this for over 5 years. And I've been studying fairies and working with fairyology for probably over 10. It's probably been more than 10 years now. And so this is my practice. This is what I work on. Yes, I learned about witchcraft. I learned about all of those different magics. And like I say, I've learned the basics, and now I'm taking in from other ones and adding to it to make it mine, to make it work, make it personal, make it something that I want to do and not feel like it's another job, but it's a belief, it's a daily thing, it's a routine. It's something that keeps me going. It's something that brings me pleasure, that helps me feel better. And that's the whole idea. So, fairycraft is about feeling good, being happy, improving your own life, improving other people's lives, improving animal life, and working with nature, working with animals, like I say, working with the cycles. So as I started to say, one tip you want to remember is you might be kind of feeling overwhelmed with that whole list. Okay, here's a bunch of lists. Feel free to write this down. First of all, your first tip I would say is don't get overwhelmed. So don't flip out at the whole list. And yes, you might be fascinated with a couple of different things and go, oh, I want to learn that and learn that and learn that. Great, the enthusiasm is wonderful. But then you might either get burned out or you might get overwhelmed thinking, oh my gosh, I got to learn all of this. How do I do it all? No, don't worry, okay? Pick one of those things that fascinates you the most. The one thing you really want to learn. Do you want to learn about moonology? Do you want to learn about solar magic? Do you want to do the garden magic? Do you want to do candle magic? Maybe you want to focus with animal magic. Pick one. Get a journal or a notebook or even one of the composition books because they're fairly cheap. Get yourself a notebook or a journal or a grimoire. You turn this into your fairy journal, your grimoire. Write down notes. That's what I do. Write down all your notes from different sources. Like this video would be a perfect time to take some notes and put it in your book. Any books you might read, write your notes down. The form of writing is a form of magic, by the way, okay? So don't think, now actually writing something out is a form of spell. It's a spell work because you're committing it to your memory. You're setting the intention and going, I really like this. I want to keep this note. I'm going to write it in. So you're doing that whole magic thing by the whole process of the intention is to keep it, write it, look at it, remember it, use it. Okay? Next tip, like I said, is pick that one item. Candle magic, let's say. Okay, so then you're going to learn about different shapes of candles. You're going to learn about the different types, votives, tapers, the little matchstick birthday, handmade ones, scented ones, unscented ones, the big pillars, the thick three wick candles, that kind of thing. You're going to learn about shape, if that makes any difference to you, but mainly what I focus on is colors, scents. To me, the shapes don't matter as much unless I'm using a specific holder or something that has to fit in. But generally, and I do use candle magic the most, that's probably the one thing I do use the most in my practice, is candles. So you need to learn about colors and scents mainly. And you need to have a variety on hand if you get into this hardcore. Now, let's say you're interested, but you can't afford it, which I totally understand. So the only thing you really need to buy is a white candle and maybe a black candle. Okay? Doesn't matter what shape, doesn't matter what size. Go by what you can afford. Go to the dollar stores. Sometimes you luck out, they're there, reasonable. Sometimes other stores, like Walmart, they might have some on sale. Get a white, get a black, okay? That way you've got the two sides of the spectrum here, the two sides of the moon. And so you want to be able to have your light and the darker. Now, I'm not saying you need the dark for dark magic, because there isn't any such thing as dark magic. The black is actually an all-encompassing color. It combines everything. All the colors, when you mix all your colors, and this is speaking from an artist's point of view, when you mix all these colors together, red, green, brown, gray, purple, pink, blue, when you put all those together, they turn into a black. All those colors will eventually blend into a black. So black encompasses all of the rainbow colors, the whole spectrum. So black is good for banishing problems or people or issues and stuff like that. It's also a form of protection because when you banish all the negative, you're going to be protected from them coming back, that sort of thing. It also absorbs negative energy and it also repels negative energy. Now white, on the other side of it, white is for bringing light into your life. It's protecting you. It's like a moon, the hazy moon, around something where it makes you feel protected. You're enclosed. You're cocooned. And also, a bright light, like the moon or the stars, would actually send out, sun too, it would actually send out all of that energy and that light, which helps, repel things, keep people away. Because if you shine a bright light into somebody, they're going to close their eyes, turn away, whatever. Again, it's all that symbolism of, blocking all that out, repelling all that, which gives you protection as well. So it's good to have one or the other, or both, preferably both. And then that's, the only two candles you really need to start off with. Then as you start learning, then as you start wanting to get more, as you can afford it more, then you can start bringing in more colors by the scented ones. And the scents do matter. Florals and sandalwood and chamomile and eucalyptus and, flower scents, which I already said, herbs, if you can afford it and if you want to do it, you can totally start buying all these, or make your own. You can learn how to make your own. I do occasionally when I can. Again, buying the oils and the scents and the wicks and the wax, it gets expensive. So, but if you can afford it and you want to make your own, go for it. Do it. Be safe, always. With candle magic, be safe. You don't want to burn yourself, burn your house, don't want your kids or your pets getting burned or anything else. Always be safe when you're working with candles of any kind, whether they're man-made or machine-made, or you make them or manufactured. Always be careful. Always be safe. Don't burn your house. Don't burn yourself. So, and when you're working outside, if you take them outside, again, have water nearby. Don't do it on a windy day. And be careful so you don't set your yard or your park or your whatever on fire either. We don't want wildfires either. But let's say you want to work with herbs and flowers. So again, you're going to be focusing more on garden magic then. So you're going to want to work more with the cycles of the seasons. What seasons are good for blooming and growing, which is generally spring, maybe you want to learn about flowers. So buy a book on botanicals and flowers that's related to magic. There are a bunch of them out there. So pick one that sounds good to you. Someone that has a lot of sources in the back that lists a lot of different places that they've researched different things. That shows you've got a good book source and it's well researched. And then that way, you have a better understanding. So you can have a list of herbs or a list of flowers, and they'll tell you the magical associations to that herb or flower. And then if you get a gardening book that specifies more about the practical, when to plant them, where to plant them, what kind of, do they go in pots? Do you start them from seedlings? Can you put them in the ground? That kind of thing. So get yourself some good book sources as well. On top of that, let's say you want to go into kitchen. So again, that goes into kitchen witchery too, because most likely you're going to be taking what you're learning from about the herbs and flowers and incorporating it in your kitchen witchery, which is fine. That's great. They're bound to overlap. Different things are bound to overlap and come together. And that's great. That makes it more of a full spectrum of education you're going to have. Again, this is where your journal and your grimoire comes in handy. Have your fairy journal handy all the time so you can make the notes on what you're learning, what works for you, what you make an association with, what you don't like, what you don't want to work with. And that way you make these notes, you'll have it for later. And then always go back to it. Reread all your notes. And that's something I have to always remind myself to do. I'm so busy taking the new ones, I don't always go back and read the old ones. So make sure that you continue to read it, keeps it in your mind, keeps it fresh, and that way when you want to work with something, it's going to be there. Or you'll be like, oh, I remember I have that somewhere, and you can flip through and find it and go, okay, that's going to work for me. You have a reference. You're making your reference guide. So again, that's something else that's important. Animal magic, the same thing. There's animal magic books out there. Purchase a good one. It's a good source that has a lot of, like I say, references in the back. A lot of, footnotes where they showed you where I got this and got that. Shows it was well researched. But each animal represents different things in magic. So if you want to focus on animal magic, you need to learn about them. Their physiology and the magical aspects of it as well, their connections, and start focusing on that. So you get the idea. I could go through all of them, but you're getting the idea, so I won't overdo it. But just pick a source, pick one of those subjects, start researching it, take the notes, start using it. Find what works, find what doesn't work for you. And then as you start getting more and more comfortable, and you're like, oh, I want to add that in. Oh, I want to try that. That's cool. Do it. Now, like I say, some of the things that we believe as fairycraft magic witches is that you want to be good to nature, good to animals. You want to foster, empower. You want to feel, happy. You want to have people around you to be happy, right? Your animals be healthy and happy. And you want to send that out so it'll come back. We do tend to have a tendency, a lot of us anyway, who believe, not everybody, but generally we believe that what you send out can come back to you threefold. And that's kind of a Wicca practice, I'm told. And so it kind of makes sense, though, especially for some of us who were raised in a more strict, rule-based religion. And even though we don't practice that anymore, which is our choice, we still have some of that in our memory, you know. And so it kind of goes with that. It does kind of stick with you. And so you end up, well, I'm afraid if I send this out, this is going to come back to me at some point. So I better be sending out something good. So that's why a lot of us don't usually work with baneful magic. We're more careful. We don't want to overdo it. Now, some baneful magic is usable if you're comfortable, because it's a form of protection. I mean, the movies over the years have really messed up people's psyche or thinking about witches and witchcraft. And remember, they want to sell the movie. They want it to be graphic. They want it to be scary. They want it to be exciting. They want it to be in your face. And most of the time, the movies are either horror-based or maybe more scientific, but they want to make the audience sit on the edge of their seat and be really nervous and, get that reaction. And it stays with us. That's not necessarily, and most of the time, that is not what witchcraft is in any form. Now, baneful magic is the only one that could go dark that way. I mean, go to that extreme. But if you've got a practitioner who knows about it, who's researched it, and uses it carefully, and doesn't do any of that for a whim. It's like, okay, somebody said something nasty about me on the phone. That's not a reason to curse them. That's not a good enough reason to put a hex on them and ruin their lives. It's baneful magic, when it's used properly, is more like justice for something that's serious. Like, there are practitioners out there who will use baneful magic to get someone who has, let's say, physically attacked them. Maybe they broke into their home and beat them up and, did some serious damage. Or perhaps a poor woman, a young woman or a girl has been raped, and the rapist is still, walking the streets. Baneful magic is more used, from what I'm told, because I don't use it, but it's used as a form of protection, as a form of repelling, and it's also a form of justice. That's all I'll say about it, because I don't practice it. But my point is, in fairycraft magic, you can use a whole bunch of different things and put it together. So, I'm kind of getting off track, so let's get back to it. So the other basics would be, like I said, learning as much about the item or the subject that you're interested in. Keep your notes. Another thing, too, is you want to remember that there's a lot of talk, especially for newbies, new people coming into the practice, that they may feel intimidated by somebody else who's been talking to them, who's been doing it a while. They may feel, other people may label them and say, oh, you're a newbie or you're a baby witch. Some people have a problem with that. Other people don't have a problem with that. Let me just say that in fairycraft, as far as I believe and what I've seen and what I practice and work with and what I promote in my classes and such and these videos, is fairycraft is inclusive. We want to include as many genuine, honest, friendly people who want connection to each other to nature, to animals, to the fairies. Because, keep in mind, not all fairies are good. There are some that are nasty, they're mean, or they're just ones that don't give a darn about humanity or anything else we're going through. So, the fae have their negative side as well. And you need to be aware of the good fae and the not so good fae. The ones you want to talk to and connect with, and the ones you want to keep out of your home and out of your lives, So again, that's another thing, is to learn about the fairies. Fairy folklore, different tales, different things that talk about, like the changelings and, different types of fairies. Now, in my fairyology course that I created that's on my Ko-fi.com page you can purchase, I cover a lot of that. So again, it's an inclusive. It's meant to educate, to inform, to motivate, to bring anybody in. Doesn't matter your gender, doesn't matter of your age, well, except we don't want little kids as far as doing a fairy craft magic practice. But little children, of course, can be involved in fairyology. You teach them about the good and bad fairies. Read them fairy tales. Get them out in the garden where they can work on growing a flower or growing a vegetable or a fruit. Get them out there to build a fairy fort or do a fairy garden or make a fairy house. Teach them about fairies. And then when they get to be 18, 19, 20, then they can be introduced to the fairycraft magic practice, working with the spirits and working with all of this even more. But if you start them out young, you can keep progressing until they get old enough. Then they can start working on the fairy practice. And of course, that's up to you as parents to decide when and if you want them to get involved in that. But again, it's all about being inclusive. So it doesn't matter about gender or your sexual orientation, your nationality, that kind of thing. Everybody is welcome in fairycraft. That's what I believe. That's what I promote. We just want people who are open to the experience, who learn about it, who continue to learn, and bring something good to the table, And then that way they will receive good in return. But let me say one red flag, that if you come across someone, a fairy witch, who is highly secretive, loves to label you and other people, talks down to you as if, you are a complete idiot, who is more interested in fostering people to follow them or to kind of think that they are absolutely the most wonderful thing, like I'm the next American Idol. Those are people that you want to steer away from. If they are part of a group, if they are the head of a group or a coven, and that's how they act and that's how they treat people, that's a red flag right there. You don't want to be part of that. Walk away from it. You want to be around people who are equals, who look at you as an equal. Even though you might have just picked up your first fairy book and you walk in and go, I want to learn. I sincerely want to learn. I sincerely want to be part of this. And they go, great. Okay. And they ask you some things, especially if you're going to a coven. If they ask you a bunch of questions, and some of them can be quite personal, that's normal. But see, the thing is, you have the right to ask them the same questions as well. And if they're not open to answering your questions in return, if they're not open and giving you information, that could be a problem. You might just want to walk away from that group and try another, that kind of thing. But that's getting into coven work. I'm not part of a coven. Do you have to be part of a coven? No. You can be a solitary. You could create your own, as long as you know how to make it a good group where there's no, fighting, there's no ego, there's no combative attitude. You really need to check out what a coven is, how to run one, how to be part of one, that sort of thing, if you were going to do that, and to do it properly. Because you want to be responsible as well. You want to be responsible for what you're teaching, what you're promoting, what you're working with. You don't want to, set up a group with that kind of attitude. So, again, these are some of the basics. Now, another thing, too, is remember that you want to be around people who are going to help you, make you feel better, make you feel good about what you're learning, what you're working with. If you're not getting that, you need to go somewhere where you can, or just do it on your own. And by that, you don't need to feel like I am exclusive. I am all by myself. I'm lonely. Being alone is not always the same as being lonely. You can learn on your own, and you don't need to be part of a group if you choose not to be. But there's a lot of groups out there, online groups through Facebook. I'm part of several different groups now. And I admit, I don't devote enough time to checking everybody's stuff out as often, and I need to do that a little bit more. But again, if I found something or see something I don't like, I don't combat them. I don't go rushing in to cause a problem. I just move on. I don't like confrontation. I try to avoid it. And so I'm not going to be looking for a problem. Whereas there's plenty of people who do, and I don't. But again, fairycraft is about being in harmony, working with nature, being happy, fostering happiness and good health and good well-being, not just for yourself, not just for your inner circle, your family, although you can just focus on that, but if you wanted to help general population, you can do that too. Just be safe, watch what you're doing. But the idea is to promote goodness, even if it's just, maybe you work at a animal shelter. Use your magic for the animal shelters. Help the animals to feel better, be more comfortable, be more adoptable, to find good adopters for the animals, Foster that. Use your magic to help that. That's the whole thing about fairycraft, like I say. Working with nature, working with each other, being happy, promote happiness, well-being, good health, that sort of thing. You do that, and it'll help you, because what you send out comes back. So you want to feel better, you want to feel happier, you want to feel more secure, you want to feel more in touch, send that out. And it'll come back to you, as I said. So again, fairycraft is all about these basic fundamental principles. This is what I talk about. This is what I practice. This is what I promote. And it helps. It really does. I have, especially over the last 7-8 years, have had several really dark moments, whether it was in my mind because of what I'm feeling and going through, or something physical outside that's trying to come in or has come in that's causing me misery. And my practice has helped me. I'm still here. I'm still trying, And you try to hang on to the happier moments throughout the day. So my practice does help me do that. So, I work with crystals. One of the symbols that we use for fairycraft is the 7-pointed star. The 7-pointed star, again, is a good symbol. You can make a necklace, purchase a necklace. This one I made myself. But there's different associations, there's different beliefs in regards to the 7-pointed star. So again, you need to research different ones, and I do talk about that in my Fairyology course. I list the 3 or 4 main ones that I researched that are used the most. And you pick 1 or 2 of those that resonates with you. which makes sense to you. So like say one of them is, one coven or group believes they represent the 7 days of the week. Another one says it represents the 7 gateways into Faerie. Another one says it has to do with all the cosmos and different planets. So you pick, and then there's another one where it talks more about communication, intellect, creativity, intuition, this kind of thing. And, and you pick the one that works for you, that you resonate with, that you're going to believe. But yeah, the 7-pointed star is one of our standard symbols now that we use for fairycraft. So get one of these or make one of these. Like I said, I work with crystals. I work with herbs. I don't grow them yet, but I do work with herbs. I just purchase them. But I do a lot of garden practice where I work with, making my Fae Stone garden project. I'm putting fairy houses out there and the fairy fort, and I make fairy potted gardens to sell as well as to put out there. And I just consider the whole garden to be pretty much a fairy witch garden. So I'm trying to put aspects of that out there. So as you're working with it, you're doing your spells. As I'm planting my sunflowers, I'm putting the spell into it. So again, I do work with garden magic. I mentioned that I love candles, so that's my big one too, is working with candles. And so learning about the different types and colors and all that, that's essential for me. So again, and I work with the moon. I love the moon magic more than I like sun magic. So I try to be in touch more with the moon phases. And then that way I know when to do a spell, when not to, what day of the week is better. And of course the full moon is my big night. And that's because the full moon night is the most powerful of the month. And that's when you can really get a really good sense of power for your moon water and your crystals and your candles and doing a spell. Even just sitting out there and moon bathing for a few minutes. Just sit out there and enjoy it. Especially during the spring and the summer. You can sit out there and enjoy it and just kind of take in the rays, And it kind of gives you some power. It clears your mind and it helps you connect, And so again, I like the moon, so I work with that. But other people might prefer to do sun, water magic. If you love the beach, if you love going to a lake, or if you live near a big, bottle of water, big body of water, that too is a form of magic, and you can focus on that. And really, seashells and beach things and, having a pool in your yard or a pond in your yard, a waterfall in your yard, or go somewhere where you can see all of that regularly and do your practice. There's another one, water magic. So again, I'd kind of take a little bit of each and put it in and work with it as I want to, as I need to. But some people like to prefer one thing or two things. Great. So, again, it's all about nature. It's all about feeling good. And of course, like I say, the fairies are important. So, you need to know how to approach them, how to talk to them, how to refer to them. Have a fairy ring in your garden. Show them respect. You can ask them for help. But again, it's all about how you approach them. And in my Fairyology course that's available on Ko-fi.com, again, I talk about all of that. And it's very important that you have all that background. But then again, that's where your journal comes in. Take your notes, research it, and start working with it. So, I think that's the basic fundamentals to get you started. And again, it's just some things to think about. Please take the notes. Please check out my Fairyology course. And I have the Fairycraft Magic class also available on Ko-fi, where I teach you how to make things, how to do things, what references are what. So some of this I've already talked about, but in much more detail is in the class. So please purchase that one if you would like. And that way you're learning the basics. And then you can take it from there. Sky is the limit. And but enjoy it. Remember, don't get bogged down. Don't get stressed out. Don't look at it as it's a job. It's something I have to do because it's a job, you know. Look at it as I have to do it because I want to do it. I need to do it. This is going to be great. And really put some enthusiasm into it, and you'll get a lot out of it. So, again, this is kind of a beginner course, I guess, beginner class for everybody. I hope you found it informative, and I hope that you feel welcomed. And I welcome you. I welcome you to the fairycraft magic practice. It's worth it. It's fulfilling. It's happy. Bring that energy, and you're going to get that energy back. And I wish you lots of fun, luck, safety, and goodness from your practice. You know, connect to the fairies, and it's going to be great. Just do your research. So thank you so much, very much for watching this. I hope you liked it. Have a very good day. We hope to see you in the next one. If you'd like to leave any decent, nice comments or any questions, please put them down below. If you'd like to donate to us, again, the Ko-fi.com page, you can purchase items, classes, or you can become a one-time donator or a monthly donator. It's your choice. And there is a PayPal as well if you'd like to donate to us, which helps our kitty fund and keeping us alive and helping our practice. So, I thank you, and I wish you all a wonderful fairy day, good fairy experience, and we'll see you in the next one. So take care.